The former president of Algeria, Abdelaziz Bouteflika, has died after a long illness, aged 84. Abdelaziz Bouteflika led the North African country for nearly 2 decades, but his decision in 2019 to seek a 5th term in office led to massive street protests, which resulted in his resignation. Rana Jawad reports.
A military officer in Algeria's final years of French colonial rule. A foreign minister for over a decade. For some, he was a hero. For others, the symbol of an aging political elite. When he first came to power in 1999, Algeria was still ravaged by a civil war sparked by the army's refusal to recognize the election victory of the Islamic Salvation Front earlier in the decade. By granting amnesties to the main armed groups, the new president succeeded in bringing the war to an end, although the insurgents were to regroup in the following years, aligning themselves to Al-Qaeda and spreading their operations into the wider Maghreb region. Over time, President Bouteflika's rapprochement with the West and openness to economic reform did little in the way of freeing the state from its dependency on oil revenues, reducing public debt, and defeating growing unemployment. He ruled Algeria for 20 years through landslide election victories tainted by a leadership that prevented the rise of any political opponent that could replace the president or his ruling party, the National Liberation Front. Even senior members of the country's military and intelligence services were quietly sidelined over the years. In 2013, the man that Algerians called Boutef suffered a serious stroke, leaving him in a wheelchair. His speech and mobility had been gravely affected, and his public appearances became extremely rare. In the elections the following year, he wasn't able to physically campaign, but he still won over 80% of the vote. His ill health started to raise concerns about his ability to rule, and the youth of Algeria wanted change. When his candidacy for a 5th term in office was announced in 2019, it sparked massive and rare public protests, challenging his and the ruling party's grip on Algeria. Weeks later, the relentless demonstrations, coupled with pressure on him from the army, led to Mr. Bouteflika's resignation.
In 7 days, Algerians have done the impossible to get rid of a political regime that was there to stay. President Bouteflika absolutely wanted to be president for life.
Abdelaziz Bouteflika managed to survive Algeria's tumultuous history, as well as avoid the unrest that toppled long-serving heads of state in neighboring countries during the 2011 Arab Spring. However unlikely it seemed in his final years at the helm, the rallying calls for change that did eventually reach Algeria stripped him of a power that many thought he would never give up.